Hi everyone, this is just to let you know what I'll be going over in my camera knowledge session on Monday the 18th of September at the Camera Club. Bring along your cameras and a tripod if you have one. Don't worry if you haven't, but it'll help if you have. We're going to be doing a few little things practical wise. Now, you are not going to get award-winning shots. It's basically to go over things on the settings on the camera and to learn different techniques. But we will have a beautiful model. We have Stephen Frost available, so expect the very best. Okay, so I'll be starting off with a few basics, but everything I'll be showing you of the method that I use to teach is applicable to all cameras. I will not be going through things where things are in your menu of your specific brand of camera, and that's why you get a manual book and you need to read that beforehand. So before you come, look up these things about your camera. How do you change the aperture? How do you change the shutter speed? And how do you change the ISO on your camera when you're shooting in manual mode? We'll be learning the best methods of settings on your diopter on your camera. Now, do you even know what that is? If not, we'll be going over that. Other things, search if you have a histogram view on your camera. So on most cameras, not all cameras, but on the majority, you can view a histogram on the back of your picture after you've taken the shot. Sometimes you can have that live as well. So on mirrorless cameras especially, you usually have an histogram that you can display while you're taking the shot. I don't like that on all the time, but it's available. We'll talk about that. Now in the talk, I won't just be going over the camera settings, but what we'll be looking at is what settings do we use for different genres of photography, and how many different situations are there that can influence the decisions that you need to consider when they arise. It may be, in examples on here, we're taking a macro image, an insect sitting on a stick. What do we use for that? We have got flash photography. The flower there with the black background is using flash. What settings do we need for that? And there's quite a few with that, so those are worth talking about in some depth. Also, slow shutter speeds where we're capturing the water and the movement, or images where we're stopping instantly the movement, such as this flying turn. And then you think, well, why is it important to know all these? Well, if I didn't know all that and I didn't apply that and be totally confident of using my camera, then the shot on the end, which is sold worldwide and been on the front page of Country Life and many other magazines, I wouldn't have got that shot. I didn't take multiple exposures on that. It was just one single shot. So it had to be right, because that moment lasted a split second. I was teaching somebody who was standing next to me, and they'd actually got my best lens. I borrowed them my lens. And I wish I hadn't, but the lens was still good enough to capture the shot. But it's being confident of knowing when I press that button, I'm going to get exactly what I want. And you need to be at that stage to be successful. And it's not really hard. With a little bit of basic knowledge, you can all take photos like this. And that is not nonsense. I've got students who are 12 years old and have took images almost exactly the same as those. So anybody can do it, even you old ones. We'll be taking a look at things like lens hoods, tripods, filter and such, which can really enhance your images, but not always. There are sometimes when you want to avoid using those things, and that is something else we'll talk about and why. Quite often people don't understand how the focal length of a lens requires you to think carefully about setting your aperture on your camera and the different effects that can have on your images. So again, another thing we will look at. Something that's really important these days as well is how to take images, thinking about the software that you're going to use to process your picture after you've taken them, because it is part of the actual sequence of taking an image. It's a bit like in the old days with your camera. You didn't get a picture straight from your camera. It had to be taken away to be developed. And then you get your shots back and you would then look at them. So much easier these days because we can do that ourselves and we can apply things to it, but it is part of the process. Now, I know some people only shoot JPEG and just go for what they get out the camera, and I've got nothing against that whatsoever. If they're getting what they want, you take pictures to enjoy. That's the main thing. But if you do use RAW rather than JPEG, there is so much editing that you can apply to your picture that enable you to get shots that you wouldn't normally get. And this is just one example. So if we look at the two pictures there on the left, is a picture of a blue tit, and that's straight from the camera, and you can see how high the ISO is on there. It was maximum, so it's over 25,000 ISO. 25,000, not 2,500, 25,000. And you can see the image on the right, how much that has cleaned up. Now, with that knowledge, with my camera, when I go out and I'm taking birds, you know, I want to be able to capture things quite often at high speeds. And again, that's something that we'll be talking about, and how software can help you, you know, enhance your pictures. But you need to think about that when you're taking the image. Is this going to work? Is this not going to work? What's the best setting to use to make sure that I get that shot? So again, that will be a big part of what we will be looking at. So hopefully I'll see you all on Monday, and I look forward to giving you a bit of my knowledge, and I'll probably get a lot of your knowledge back as well, which I'll enjoy. All the best. See you then.